Honey, bonjour. So today I just had my last class of my BA career at Trent today, so a little bit excited. This video is going to be submitted a little bit late, but I've just been busy with work. But in regards, I'm going to follow the criteria that has been outlined and explain and walk through my Trent career. So in my eyes, what was missing from my university education, um, I think the biggest thing for me that bugged me throughout my whole career, was the simple fact that there seemed to be quite an absence of Indigenous professors teaching Indigenous studies. Um, don't get me wrong, like there is some fabulous non-Indigenous teachers, but for me, it was that understanding. Um, for Indigenous people, we grow up in a colonized world. We grow up knowing that we're not, that people view us as the other almost, and that struggle or that journey that we carry through life. That's what I want to see. That's what I want, and that's what I have seen some of the professors, especially the First Nation professors at Trent. But in some of the classes it was missing, and I think that dramatically impacted the class. I'm not going to name specific ones, but I think that could have helped those classes. I think it could have helped transmit the actual idea of that class, the fundamental concept. It's hard not to talk about the class, but or name the class. But that's what it's just. It all comes down to I think just growing up Indian. What it means. I'm not going to carry too much on into that topic. But then also another aspect that I wanted to bring up was for more academic knowledge or knowledge transmission to take place on the land, especially in Indigenous studies, because we base and situate our knowledge so much on the land, but yet we go into these institutions and learn within four walls, and then within these walls, I felt like I was limited. Whereas with the living in the learn on the land class, a lot more transmission took place there for me, in my eyes. So as stated before, I said that that living on the land class, it really helped accent and accentuate that transmission, that traditional knowledge transmission that takes place on the land. And I think that is one of the best elements of my career at Trent University, was experiencing that. I was experiencing that difference. I was aware of that difference because I was um, because I grew up in a traditional lifestyle. I grew up with those teachings being passed down orally and sitting there and listening and being with the mother, our earth. But when that university took place, that university learning, I think that's what truly started to get that think tank going. Was that there's an alternative than just learning inside the classroom. That for me, anyways, I was truly grateful for that course because it did show me that there was an alternative. Another good element about Trent was the aspect of, this is more lean towards the anthropology side, but for biological anthropology, was that most universities, their BA students study with plastic samples or plastic skeletons, but at Trent it was actually real skeletons that we were able to study, real skeletal assemblage. And so the positives about that is that the landmarks on the bone often tend to be generalized on plastic bones, and whereas the real bones, we were able to see that there is that variation, especially with pathologies. Plastic bones obviously generalize them, but when we were able to see two different bones with the same pathology, we could see that they differed in visual appearance, macroscopic features. One of the worst elements for me at Trent had to be the sociocultural anthropology. I know you didn't want me to name a class, but I have to. It was just I still can't get over the aspect of studying another culture as the exotic or the other. I feel like that class was very outdated, and I've had a lot of problems with it. Hopefully, I do pass it so I can graduate. But I think that is the worst part of my career, was try and come and learn a colonial discipline from from a colonized perspective, right? So the ideal course for me at Trent, and I'm just going to stick towards Indigenous studies, would ultimately have that land or have that course take place on the land. For me, it doesn't matter in particular what kind of course it was, as long as it was Indigenous studies, to have it on the situated on the land, because um, not only does learning take place there, but also the relationship building with fellow classmates takes place there than it would usually happen in a classroom. For example, living and learn on the land was, for me, one of the most important times of my Trent career, because I established some of those friendships. Some of those everlasting friendships I'll probably carry on for the rest of my life, which doesn't usually happen in a classroom setting for most people. Another aspect for me would also to have, if it was based around Indigenous orality or oral storytelling, to not have an examination at the end period of that course, because ultimately you're I don't see the point of having an exam in an oral um, Indigenous orality class unless it's going to be an oral exam. Like that totally defeats the purpose of writing down a static story of something and having it graded. Which also brings the notion of that how do you grade a student's learning experience? How do you grade their comprehension of knowledge? All students learn at different levels, and I think all students should be evaluated on different scales rather than having a traditional standardized scale. Have different scales that that incorporate those different learning styles, like visual learning styles or hands-on learning style, oral learning style, whatever it may be. Because I think we're truly limiting our interpretations of the student's overall knowledge when we do place a grade on that. So the most important thing that I have learned at Trent, I had to say that I sat there for a while staring at that screen, wondering what I was going to write down, or wondering what I was going to say. But I think ultimately what I did learn, or what the overall thing that I learned from Trent, or that I'm going to take away with me, is to question everything that I'm presented with or that I'm shown. Because there are always there's multiple ways and multiple directions to derive upon an answer, which also has multiple truths. There is necessarily not one static version of a truth. That there is different ways to come about that truth, and that that truth can be shown in different ways, can be interpreted in different ways, and can ultimately have different meanings. So just like the in final words to say that Chimigwech Trent, it's been a sure it has sure been a ride, but finally glad that it's over. So thank you.